A young black waitress working at a small diner found a wallet stuffed with crisp $100 bills. When her crooked boss told her to stay quiet and split the cash, she refused. That one act of honesty cost her job. Yet even accused and alone, she held on to one thing: her integrity. What she didn't know was that the wallet belonged to a white billionaire, and the way he chose to repay her would change both of their lives forever. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from right now? The greasy smell of old fries and burnt coffee hung thick in the air as 22-year-old Maya Richardson wiped down table 7 for what felt like the 100th time that night. Her feet throbbed in her worn-out sneakers, each step sending sharp pains up her calves, but she kept moving. That was the thing about working the closing shift at Murphy's Diner: you just kept going until it was done. Maya glanced at the clock. 11:45. Just 15 more minutes and she could catch the last bus home to the small apartment she shared with her parents in the Riverside neighborhood. Her mama would probably still be up, waiting to hear about her day, even though she had to be at the textile factory by 6 in the morning. Her daddy would be asleep in his recliner, the television flickering with the late-night news he'd never actually watch. 22 years old, and this was her life. Not the life she'd planned when she'd enrolled in community college 4 years ago, full of hope and determination. Not the life she'd imagined when she'd aced her social work 101 class and felt like she'd found her calling. She'd made it halfway through, 2 solid years, good grades, professors who believed in her. Then her daddy got laid off from the warehouse after 15 years. Her mama's hands got so bad from repetitive factory work that she could barely hold a coffee cup some mornings. And Maya had to make a choice. Just temporary, she'd told herself. Just a year or 2 to help them get back on their feet, then I'll finish. That was 2 years ago. The cookie tin hidden in their kitchen cupboard held $1,200, her college fund rebuilt penny by penny. She needed at least $3,000 more for her final year. At this rate, working at Murphy's Diner, it would take another 2 years minimum. She'd be 24 before she could even finish her associate's degree. They didn't have much. Her daddy had been unemployed for a few months now, sending out applications daily with fewer and fewer responses. Her mama's factory wages barely covered groceries and utilities. Maya's diner earnings paid the rent when they could pay it. They were 3 months behind now, with an eviction notice sitting on their kitchen counter like a ticking time bomb. As she stacked the dirty plates onto her tray, her cleaning cloth brushed against something soft and out of place wedged between the vinyl seat cushions. A wallet. She pulled it out carefully, expecting the usual cheap leather or canvas that most customers carried. Instead, her fingers touched the softest, most expensive leather she had ever felt. It was black, thick and heavy in her small palm. Maya looked around the diner. Old Joe Henderson was snoring softly in the corner booth, his coffee long since cold. Mr. Peterson, the owner, was in his office doing paperwork. Marcy, the night cook, was in the back listening to her radio and cleaning the grill. Her fingers, suddenly clumsy with nerves, fumbled the wallet open. Her breath caught hard in her throat. Cash. Thick bundles of $100 bills. Still more money than she'd seen in her life. Her heart hammered against her ribs so violently she thought they might crack. The eviction notice flashed through her mind. The overdue electric bill. Her mama's hands shaking so badly some mornings that Maya had to help her button her work shirt. Her daddy's face when he came home from another rejected interview, trying so hard to hide his despair. That pathetic cookie tin with $1,200 that would never ever be enough. This money could change everything. Could save everything. She could pay off their debts. Catch up on rent. Get her mama to a hand specialist. Help her daddy while he kept searching for work. And still have enough left to finish her degree. To finally finish what she'd started. All she had to do was slip it into her apron. Finish her shift. Walk out. Nobody would ever know. Maya's fingers tightened on the leather. Her vision blurred with tears. She could see it all so clearly, her mama's face when she didn't have to worry about the electric bill. Her daddy's shoulders straightening with relief, herself walking back onto that community college campus to finish her last semester. For one desperate aching moment, she wanted it so badly her whole body trembled. Then her mama's voice echoed in her memory, clear as church bells on Sunday morning. Baby girl, we may not have much, but we have our integrity. That's something nobody can ever take from us unless we give it away ourselves. Maya's chest tightened. Her hands shook harder. She pressed the wallet against her heart, feeling the terrible weight of temptation and principle warring inside her. Then she carefully searched for identification. No driver's license, no credit cards, no photos, just a single black business card nestled in a leather slot. Silver embossed lettering that caught the light, Harrison Blackwell. Below it a phone number. Nothing else. The name meant nothing to her, but the card felt important somehow. Heavy with consequence. What you got there, Maya? Maya jumped so hard the wallet nearly flew from her hands. Mr. Peterson had emerged from his office, moving faster than she'd ever seen him move. His eyes locked onto the leather wallet like a hawk spotting a rabbit. I found it, Mr. Peterson, Maya said quickly, her voice higher than normal. Between the cushions at table 7. There's money inside. I was looking for an ID so I could call. Peterson crossed the distance in 3 long strides and snatched the wallet from her hands before she could finish. His face transformed as he flipped it open, eyes widening, then narrowing with unmistakable greed. Well, well, well. His voice dropped low, almost a purr. Look what we have here. Somebody's lucky night just got a whole lot better. Maya's stomach twisted into knots. We need to return it, Mr. Peterson. There's a card inside with a name and return it. Peterson's laugh was cold and sharp as broken glass. Girl, this money was abandoned here. Left behind. That makes it ours by rights. Finders keepers, that's how the real world works. He looked her up and down, his smile spreading. Tell you what, I'm feeling generous tonight. We'll split it 50-50. Fair enough, considering this is my establishment. No. The word came out smaller than Maya wanted. She cleared her throat and tried again, louder this time. No, Mr. Peterson. That's stealing. That money belongs to someone. We have to call the number on that card and we're not calling anyone. Peterson's voice hardened like concrete setting. He stepped closer, close enough that Maya could smell the stale cigarette smoke clinging to his clothes, see the yellow stains on his teeth. Now you listen to me real careful, girl. You're going to forget you ever saw this wallet, and I'm going to forget we had this conversation. We clear? Maya's heart pounded in her throat. She could barely breathe, but her mama's words echoed again, integrity. I can't do that, Mr. Peterson. Her voice shook but didn't break. That money doesn't belong to us. If you keep it, I'll have to call the police. I'll tell them I found it and tried to return it, and you took it from me. The temperature in the diner seemed to drop 20 degrees. Peterson's face flushed dark red, then purple. He moved even closer, looming over her, one hand reaching out to grip her shoulder, not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to threaten. Hard enough to make his point clear. You threatening me? His voice was barely above a whisper now, which somehow made it more terrifying than if he'd shouted. In my own diner? After I gave you a job when nobody else in this neighborhood would hire you. Maya's breath came in short gasps. She wanted to step back, but the counter was right behind her. Peterson's hand tightened on her shoulder, his fingers digging in just enough to make her wince. Think real careful about your next words, girl, he said softly, his face inches from hers. Think about your family. About your daddy who's been out of work. About your mama at that factory with her ruined hands. Word gets around in this neighborhood real fast. You make trouble for me and I promise you I'll make sure nobody in a 10-block radius will hire a Richardson ever again. Not your daddy, not your mama, not you. You understand what I'm telling you? Maya's vision swam. Her whole body trembled. This was it, the moment where she could fold, where she could keep her mouth shut and her family safe, where she could pretend she never saw anything. But then she thought about her mama coming home with bleeding hands from the factory, still finding the strength to smile and ask about Maya's day. Thought about her daddy going to interview after interview with his head held high, never complaining, never giving up. Thought about how they'd raised her to be better than this. To stand up for what's right even when it cost everything. Her phone was in her apron pocket. Her trembling fingers found it. I'm taking my hand out of my pocket now, Mr. Peterson. Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt. And I'm going to take a picture of you holding that wallet. And then I'm calling the police. And I'm going to tell them everything that just happened here. Peterson's eyes widened. His face went from purple to an almost gray color. His hand dropped from her shoulder. You little, everything okay out here? Marcy stood in the kitchen doorway, wiping her hands on her apron, her eyes moving between Peterson and Maya with growing concern. A witness. For a long, terrible moment nobody moved. The only sound was the hum of the ancient refrigerator and old Joe's soft snoring in the corner. Then Peterson shoved the wallet at Maya's chest so hard she stumbled backward into the counter, pain shooting up her spine. Fine, take the damn wallet. Return it to whoever you want. Be a little saint. He stepped back, his face twisted with pure rage. But you're fired. Get your things and get out of my diner right now. This minute. Don't ever come back. Maya clutched the wallet to her chest, tears burning hot in her eyes. Mr. Peterson, please. I need this job. My family needs. You should have thought about that before, he snarled. Then louder, looking directly at Marcy, I caught her trying to steal money from a customer's wallet. That's why I'm firing her. You heard that, didn't you, Marcy? Marcy's face went pale. She looked at Maya with something like pity, then slowly, reluctantly nodded. I heard, Mr. Peterson. No, Maya whispered, her voice breaking. That's not what happened. Marcy, you know me, you know I wouldn't. Get out, Peterson said through clenched teeth, pointing at the door. Before I call the cops myself and tell them you tried to rob the place. Get out. Maya's hands shook so badly she could barely grab her backpack from behind the counter. She shoved her belongings inside, a worn textbook from her college days that she couldn't bear to sell back, her water bottle, the sweater her mama had knitted. The wallet she kept clutched in one hand, holding it like it was both precious and cursed. Good luck finding another job, Peterson called after her as she stumbled toward the door, tears streaming down her face. I'll make damn sure every business owner in this neighborhood knows what kind of person you are. A thief and a troublemaker. Your family's going to learn a hard lesson about raising a daughter with no sense. The door swung shut behind her with a sound like a coffin closing. Maya stood on the sidewalk in the cold night air. Rain had started to fall, light and cold, soaking through her thin uniform almost immediately. The diner's neon sign flickered behind her, the word open, sputtering and dying, like a heartbeat giving up. She was unemployed, branded a thief, holding a wallet full of someone else's money that had just cost her everything. She sank onto the bus stop bench, her whole body shaking with silent sobs. The last bus had left 15 minutes ago. She'd have to walk home over an hour through neighborhoods that got rougher the closer you got to Riverside Projects. But first, she had to call the number on that card. Even though it had cost her her job. Even though it might cost her family even more. Even though every part of her wanted to throw the wallet in the gutter and run home and pretend this night never happened. But her mama's voice whispered one more time, integrity. Maya opened the wallet with trembling fingers and stared at that business card. Harrison Blackwell. She pulled out her phone. 5% battery. Of course, she'd have to find someone to borrow a phone from. A young woman in a university sweatshirt walked past, earbuds in, scrolling through her phone. Maya stood up quickly, wiping tears from her face with her sleeve. Excuse me, miss. Her voice came out hoarse. I'm so sorry to bother you, but my phone's about to die, and I really need to make an important call. Could I please borrow yours for just a minute? I promise it's local. The woman looked up, startled. She took in Maya's diner uniform, her tear-stained face, the exhaustion radiating from every part of her. Her expression softened. Yeah, okay, but make it quick. Thank you so much. Maya took the phone with shaking hands and dialed the number from the business card. Her heart hammered as it rang. Once. Yes. One word. Just one word. But it was delivered in a voice that made Maya's breath catch, deep, rough like gravel in a whiskey glass, carrying the weight of someone who'd seen too much and trusted too little. Hello, sir. Maya's words tumbled out too fast, her nervousness making her stumble over herself. My name is Maya Richardson. I found a wallet tonight at Murphy's Diner on Riverside Avenue. A black leather wallet with money inside. Does it belong to someone named Harrison Blackwell? Silence. Heavy weighted silence that seemed to press against her ears. Then where are you right now? Not is it mine. Not thank you, just where are you? I'm at the bus stop on the corner of Riverside and 5th Street. Outside the diner where I found it. Are you safe? The question surprised her. Yes sir, I'm okay. I just want to make sure this gets back to you. If it's yours. Another pause. Maya could hear breathing on the other end, slow, controlled, deliberate. A car will be there in 20 minutes. Black sedan. The driver's name is Robert. He'll collect the wallet. Do not get into any other vehicle or give it to anyone else. Do you understand? Yes sir, I understand. 20 minutes. The line went dead. Maya stood holding the phone, then handed it back to the young woman with a whispered thanks. You okay? The woman asked, genuine concern in her eyes. Maya nodded, fresh tears threatening. My boss wanted to keep the money in the wallet. When I said we had to return it, he fired me. Told everyone I was trying to steal it. The woman's expression filled with sympathy and anger. That's messed up. But hey, you did the right thing. That matters even when it costs you. Not everyone would make that choice. After she left, Maya sat alone on the bench in the cold rain, clutching the wallet that had destroyed her life, waiting for a car from a man she'd never met. Exactly 20 minutes later, a sleek black sedan pulled up to the curb. It was the kind of car Maya had only seen in movies, expensive, pristine, looking completely out of place on this rundown street. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a middle-aged man in a dark suit, his expression professional and unreadable. Miss Richardson? Yes sir. I'm Robert. Mr. Blackwell sent me to collect his property. Maya stood on shaky legs and held out the wallet with both hands. Here it is. Everything's still inside. I didn't take anything, I swear. Robert took the wallet carefully, opened it to verify the contents, then nodded with what might have been approval. Mr. Blackwell asked me to give you this. He pulled a sealed envelope from his jacket pocket. As thanks for your honesty. Maya took the envelope hesitantly. It felt thick. Heavy. She opened it and her breath caught. Cash. A lot of cash, she counted quickly. $2,000. I can't accept this, Maya said immediately, trying to hand it back. I was just doing the right thing. I don't want a reward. Robert's eyebrows rose slightly, as if he hadn't expected that response. Miss Richardson, Mr. Blackwell is a generous man. He wants you to have it. Please tell him I'm grateful, but I can't take it. Maya pushed the envelope back toward Robert. I returned the wallet because it was the right thing to do, not to get paid. If I take money for it, it's not really integrity anymore, is it? For the first time, Robert's professional mask cracked slightly. He looked at her with something like surprise, maybe even respect. That's very principled of you, Miss Richardson. It's how my parents raised me. Robert studied her for a long moment, taking in her cheap, worn clothing, her obvious exhaustion, the tear stains on her face. May I ask, why were you crying when I arrived? Maya hesitated, then figured it didn't matter. I got fired tonight. My boss wanted to keep the wallet. When I refused, he said I was trying to steal it and fired me. Told everyone I'm a thief. Robert's expression darkened. I see, and yet you still returned it. It wasn't mine to keep. Robert nodded slowly. Miss Richardson, it's very late and you appear to have had a difficult evening. May I at least offer you a ride home? Consider it a courtesy, not a payment. Maya thought about the hour-long walk through increasingly rough neighborhoods, in the rain, in the dark. Are you sure? I don't want to be any trouble. No trouble at all, Mr. Blackwell would insist. Maya climbed into the back seat gratefully. The interior was warm and smelled faintly of leather and something expensive she couldn't identify. The seats were softer than her bed at home. As they pulled away from the curb, Robert asked, "What's your address, Miss Richardson?" Maya gave him the street and number, her cheeks burning with embarrassment at naming the rundown apartment complex in Riverside Projects. They drove through the city, from the slightly better downtown area into progressively poorer neighborhoods. When they finally pulled up in front of Maya's building, Robert was quiet for a moment, taking in the cracked sidewalks, the graffiti on the walls, the broken streetlights. "You live here?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. "Yes, sir, with my parents." Maya opened the door. "Thank you for the ride, and please tell Mr. Blackwell I'm grateful he sent someone, but I really can't accept any money. I just hope he got his wallet back safely." "I'll tell him." Robert paused. "Miss Richardson, for what it's worth, I think your parents raised you very well." Maya managed a small smile. "Thank you, that means a lot." She watched the sedan drive away, then trudged up the 3 flights of stairs to her family's apartment, each step feeling heavier than the last. She'd done the right thing. She knew she'd done the right thing. But the right thing had cost her everything. Robert drove back to the Blackwell estate with his mind churning. In his 15 years of working for Harrison Blackwell, he'd seen a lot. Rich people, poor people, honest people, liars. He'd developed a good sense for character. Maya Richardson was different. She'd refused $2,000 when she desperately needed it. She'd lost her job rather than compromise her principles. She'd returned $12,000 that could have changed her family's life. Robert had seen the apartment building, had seen the neighborhood, had seen the exhaustion and worry in that young woman's eyes, and she'd still done the right thing. Harrison was in his study when Robert arrived, sitting in the leather chair by the window, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. He looked up as Robert entered. At 58 years old, Harrison Blackwell was a man who commanded respect through sheer presence alone. His silver-gray hair was impeccably styled, his dark suit perfectly tailored, but there was something in his ice-blue eyes, a coldness, a distance, that kept people at arm's length. "Well?" Harrison's voice was gruff, controlled. "The wallet is secure, sir. Everything accounted for, all $12,000. Harrison nodded curtly. "And the girl?" "Maya Richardson, 22 years old. She refused the reward money." Harrison's eyes sharpened with interest. "She what?" "She refused it, sir. Said she returned the wallet because it was the right thing to do, not to get paid. Said if she took money for it, it wouldn't really be integrity anymore." For a long moment, Harrison was silent, his fingers drumming once on the arm of his chair, a rare tell of internal agitation. "She refused $2,000. "Yes, sir. Why?" "Principles, apparently." Robert paused. "Sir, there's more. She lost her job tonight because she wouldn't let her employer keep your wallet. He fired her and told people she was trying to steal it. And despite all that, she still returned it, still refused payment." Harrison leaned back in his chair, his ice-blue eyes distant, calculating. Most people would have seen opportunity in that wallet. Most people would have rationalized keeping it, or at least taken the reward without a second thought. But this girl, this Maya Richardson, had chosen integrity over survival. It intrigued him, and Harrison Blackwell was not easily intrigued. "Tell me about her," he said finally. "I drove her home. She lives in Riverside Projects with her parents. The building is rough, sir. Very rough, but she was polite, grateful for the ride, and remarkably principled for someone in her circumstances." Harrison stood and walked to the window, looking out at the manicured grounds of his estate. 20 acres of perfection that felt more like a prison than a home these days. "I want you to do something for me, Robert." Quietly, discreetly. "Of course, sir." "Have Anderson Security look into Maya Richardson." Not invasively. "I don't want her to know, but I want to understand who she is, her family situation, her circumstances. What kind of person turns down $2,000 when they clearly need it?" "I'll contact them first thing in the morning, sir." "Good." Harrison turned back, his expression unreadable. "And Robert, thank you for bringing her home safely." That was appropriate. After Robert left, Harrison opened his wallet and looked at the cash inside. $12,000. He'd withdrawn it 3 days ago for a real estate transaction that had fallen through. He'd meant to deposit it, but had gotten distracted with work, ended up stopping at that diner for coffee while making calls, and he'd left his wallet there, careless. The kind of mistake he never would have made 10 years ago. Before. Harrison cut that thought off sharply. He didn't think about before. Before was gone.
But this girl, this Maya Richardson, she'd refused a reward, refused it when her family was facing eviction, when she'd just lost her job, when $2,000 could have solved immediate problems. In Harrison's experience, everyone had a price, everyone took what they could get. The world was full of takers, users, people who smiled while they picked your pockets and justified it later. But this girl had refused. Harrison poured himself a fresh drink and sat back down, his mind working through possibilities, angles, calculations. For the first time in a long time, something had penetrated the careful numbness he'd built around himself. He felt curious, and Harrison Blackwell never felt curious about people anymore. He'd learned that lesson the hard way. Over the next 3 days, Anderson Security compiled a discreet report on Maya Richardson. No breaking into homes, no illegal surveillance, just public records, social media, conversations with neighbors who knew the family, employment history. The report arrived on Harrison's desk Thursday morning. He read it twice, his expression never changing, but his mind cataloging every detail. The report painted a picture Harrison found increasingly intriguing. Maya Richardson, 22 years old. She'd graduated from Riverside High 4 years ago with a respectable 3.5 GPA, despite working part-time throughout. Got into community college on a partial scholarship, studied social work for 2 years while working nights and weekends, maintained a 3.6 GPA, then the money ran out. Her father had lost his warehouse job of 15 years. Her mother's hands were failing from repetitive factory work, the doctors saying she'd need surgery eventually. And Maya, 1 semester away from her associate's degree, had made a choice. She'd dropped out to work full-time and help support them. That was 2 years ago. She'd been working at Murphy's Diner ever since, saving every penny she could toward eventually finishing her degree. The security report noted she had approximately $1,200 saved. She'd need at least $3,000 more for her final year of community college. Teachers from her college years described her as exceptionally dedicated, mature beyond her years, the kind of student who asks how she can help classmates who are struggling. No criminal record, no red flags whatsoever, nothing but a young woman trying desperately to keep her family afloat while not completely abandoning her own dreams. Most striking to Harrison, neighbors consistently described the Richardson family as people who helped others even when they had nothing themselves. Maya regularly brought groceries to an elderly neighbor upstairs, Mrs. Patterson, using her employee discount from Morrison's Grocery, where she'd picked up weekend shifts. The Richardsons never missed their volunteer shift at Riverside Community Church's food bank, even during their own hardest months. Harrison read the report twice, then sat back in his chair, his fingers steepled beneath his chin. She'd had $12,000 in her hands, enough to pay off her family's debts, get her mother medical treatment, help her father while he looked for work, and finish her degree with money left over. And she'd returned it, lost her job for it, refused a reward for it. Harrison had built his wealth on understanding human nature, on predicting behavior, on knowing that everyone acted in their own self-interest when pushed. It was the fundamental rule that governed his world. But Maya Richardson had broken that rule, and that made her either extraordinarily naive, extraordinarily principled, or extraordinarily foolish. Harrison suspected it was the second option, which meant she was exactly the kind of person his late wife Caroline would have. He stopped that thought immediately, his jaw tightening. He didn't think about Caroline. Thinking about Caroline led to thinking about his sons, and that was a door he kept locked for very good reasons.
Harrison picked up his phone and called Robert. "Sir, I want you to contact Maya Richardson. Tell her I'd like to meet with her. Not here, somewhere neutral. That 24-hour diner on Westmont Avenue, Rosie's. Tomorrow evening 7 o'clock sharp. Make it clear this is not required, not a summons. I simply wish to thank her personally." "Of course, sir, and if she declines, then she declines. I'm not summoning her, Robert, I'm asking. Make that distinction clear." "Understood, sir." After hanging up, Harrison stood and walked to the window. Outside, his estate stretched out in manicured perfection. 20 acres that had once been full of laughter, of family, of life. 20 acres that now felt like a beautiful empty museum. He didn't know why he wanted to meet this girl. Didn't know what he expected to accomplish. He just knew that for the first time in 7 years since the accident that had taken Caroline and their younger son James, since Daniel's suicide 2 years later, something had cracked through the carefully constructed armor he wore every day. Some small spark of something, curiosity, interest, maybe even a ghost of the man he used to be, had flickered to life. And Harrison wanted to understand why this particular girl, with her ridiculous principles and her stubborn integrity, had managed to do what no one else had done in 7 years. She'd made him feel something other than the carefully controlled numbness he'd perfected. Robert had called at 8 o'clock sharp with an invitation, not a summons, he'd said carefully, to meet Mr. Blackwell for coffee tomorrow evening. He simply wishes to thank you in person, Miss Richardson. Maya didn't want thanks. She'd done what was right. That should have been the end of it. But something about the man's voice last night, calm, commanding yet almost concerned, had stayed with her. Maybe she just wanted to see the face behind that voice. Her mama said it best, sometimes, child, you let people be kind. Not because you need it, but because they might. So Maya said yes, not for herself but because some things deserve to end with grace. You look beautiful, baby, Sandra said, touching Maya's cheek gently with hands that trembled slightly from nerve damage. And remember, you did nothing wrong. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You walk in there with your head high, you hear me? Her daddy had been more worried, pacing their small living room with his arms crossed. You sure this is safe, meeting some rich man you don't know, some stranger? It's in a public diner, Daddy. And Mr. Blackwell sent his driver to bring me home safe last time. I think it's okay. Thomas Richardson had nodded slowly, but the worry didn't leave his eyes. You got your phone charged. You call us immediately if anything feels wrong. Anything at all, I promise, Daddy. Now Maya sat on the bus heading to Westmont Avenue, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat, her palms sweating despite the cold. What did Harrison Blackwell want? Why did he want to meet her face to face? Had she done something wrong somehow? The diner was called Rosie's, and it was nothing like Murphy's. Clean, bright, modern, with comfortable booths and a menu that didn't have visible grease stains. Maya walked in at exactly 7 o'clock, took a deep breath to steady herself, and immediately spotted him. Harrison Blackwell sat in the back booth, and even from across the room, his presence changed the air itself. Conversations at nearby tables softened without anyone meaning to. The waitress behind the counter stood a little straighter. There was nothing loud or showy about him, no need for that. It was the kind of authority that didn't have to be announced, it was simply understood. When his eyes found her, it wasn't a glance, it was an assessment, quiet and absolute. Maya felt it like gravity, pulling her closer before she'd taken a step, but Maya Richardson didn't run. Her mama had told her to walk in with her head high, and that's exactly what she did. Miss Richardson, Harrison said as she approached. His voice was that same gravelly rumble from the phone, but in person it seemed to carry more weight, more authority. Thank you for coming. Please sit down. It wasn't quite a command, but it wasn't exactly a request either. Maya slid into the booth across from him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap to keep them from shaking. Up close, Harrison Blackwell was even more intimidating. His face was deeply lined, weathered not just by time but by something else, grief maybe or profound disappointment. His jaw was perpetually clenched, as if he was constantly bracing against pain. His ice blue eyes were sharp, calculating, missing nothing. Everything about him radiated control, power, and a bone-deep weariness that made Maya's heart ache for reasons she couldn't fully explain. This was a man who'd been broken and had put himself back together wrong, she realized. The pieces fit, but they didn't quite line up the way they used to. Would you like something to eat? Harrison asked, his voice carefully neutral. Coffee, dinner, order whatever you'd like. Price is irrelevant, just water is fine, thank you, sir. Harrison gestured almost imperceptibly to the waitress, who quickly brought Maya a glass of ice water and refilled Harrison's coffee without him having to ask. Then they were alone again, and the silence felt heavy, weighted with unspoken things. I wanted to thank you personally, Harrison finally said, his eyes never leaving her face. For returning my wallet. Robert told me you refused the reward. I did what anyone should do, sir. I don't need thanks for that. Anyone should do it, Harrison repeated, something unreadable flickering in his expression. But in my experience, Miss Richardson, most people don't. Most people would have kept the money and convinced themselves they deserved it. Convinced themselves that someone with $12,000 in cash wouldn't miss it. You didn't. Maya didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing, just took a sip of her water. Harrison studied her for a long moment, his gaze so intense it felt like he was dissecting her, cataloging every detail, every reaction. Robert also told me you lost your job that night, because you refused to let your employer keep my wallet. Maya's cheeks burned hot. Yes, sir. And yet you still returned it, still refused payment, even knowing what it would cost you. It wasn't mine to keep. The money, I mean, and I couldn't take a reward for just doing what's right. That would make it, I don't know, transactional, somehow, less meaningful. Less meaningful, Harrison echoed softly. He took a sip of his coffee, never taking his eyes off her face. How old are you, Miss Richardson? 22, sir. And you attended community college for 2 years before having to drop out. Maya's surprise must have shown on her face because Harrison continued before she could. Your mother works at Riverside Textile Factory, Harrison said, his tone carefully neutral. Repetitive strain injuries getting worse. Your father lost his warehouse job 4 months ago, still searching. You were 1 semester away from finishing your associate's degree in social work when you had to drop out because the money ran out. You've been working at Murphy's ever since, trying to save enough to go back and finish. You want to help families like yours, families who work hard but can't get ahead. He paused, studying her reaction. Did I miss anything? Maya's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing slightly with the first spark of something other than nervousness. How do you know all that, sir? Harrison didn't flinch from her direct gaze. If anything, he seemed to approve of her directness. I make it my business to know about people who do me significant favors, Miss Richardson. I had my security firm compile a background check. Nothing invasive, just public records and general information available through standard channels. I wanted to understand what kind of person returns $12,000 when their family is facing eviction. Maya felt a flash of anger. He'd investigated her, looked into her life without permission, but it faded quickly when she saw the absolute lack of apology in his expression. She supposed rich people probably did that kind of thing as a matter of course, protected themselves, made informed decisions. The money wasn't mine, she said again, more firmly this time, meeting his ice blue gaze without flinching. My family might be struggling, sir, but we're not thieves. We don't take what doesn't belong to us, no matter how much we might need it. No, Harrison said quietly, and for the first time something that might have been respect crossed his face. You're clearly not. He leaned back slightly, his posture relaxing just a fraction. Miss Richardson, Maya, may I call you Maya? Yes, sir. I own a farm about 15 miles outside the city. 20 acres, horses, chickens, vegetable gardens, some cattle, basic livestock and crop maintenance. I need help with the daily work, the lighter tasks that don't require years of experience. Are you familiar with farm work? Maya blinked at the sudden change of subject, her mind scrambling to keep up. No, sir. I've only ever worked in food service, waitressing and kitchen prep. The work isn't complicated, Harrison continued, his voice taking on a business-like tone. Just physical, feeding animals, collecting eggs, garden maintenance, basic repairs and upkeep. My farm manager would train you thoroughly before you'd be expected to work independently. He paused, his eyes locked on hers. I'm offering you a job, Maya, weekends only, Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours each day, $25 an hour, all properly documented, legally taxed, processed through my business payroll system. Maya's mind reeled. $25 an hour. That was more than triple what she'd made at Murphy's. That was $400 every weekend. Over $1,600 a month. That was enough to catch up on rent, get her mama to a doctor, buy groceries that weren't expired or day old, maybe even add something meaningful to that cookie tin for college. Sir, that's very generous, but I should warn you, Harrison interrupted, his voice hardening in a way that made her breath catch. I'm not an easy person to work for, Maya. I have extremely high standards and I don't tolerate laziness, excuses, or mediocre work. I don't give praise or compliments or reassurance. Most people find me difficult, demanding, cold, and unreasonably harsh. His ice blue eyes pinned her in place like a butterfly on a board. I'm not offering this out of charity, kindness, or gratitude. I'm offering it because you've demonstrated something extremely rare in this world: genuine integrity backed by action. I need people I can trust completely on my property, around my home, handling my affairs. That's all this is. A business arrangement based on demonstrated character. Nothing more, nothing less. Maya looked at him carefully, really looked at him. He was warning her off, she realized, trying to scare her away before she even started. But why? What was he afraid of? Then it hit her. He was afraid she'd disappoint him. Afraid she'd turn out to be like everyone else in his life, whoever they were. Afraid she'd prove that his cynicism was justified. This man had been hurt badly, she realized, and he'd decided never to be hurt again. Why a farm? She asked quietly, her voice gentle. If you're a businessman with a company, why spend your time on a farm doing manual labor? Something dark and profoundly painful flashed across Harrison's face, gone so quickly she almost missed it. His jaw clenched tighter, a muscle jumping in his cheek. That's not your concern. Maya didn't push, she just nodded slowly. When would I start? This Saturday, 8 o'clock sharp. Robert will pick you up at your address and transport you to the farm. He'll bring you home at 4:30 in the afternoon. Harrison pulled out a business card, different from the one in his wallet, and slid it across the table. If you're interested, call this number tomorrow morning before noon and confirm. If I don't hear from you, I'll assume you're not interested and we'll both move on with our lives. Maya looked at the card. Harrison Blackwell, a phone number, an email address, nothing else. She thought about her family's overdue rent, the eviction notice that would come if they fell another month behind. About her mama's hands that hurt so badly some mornings she couldn't hold a coffee cup. About her daddy's face when he came home from another rejected job application, trying so hard to hide his despair. About that pathetic cookie tin with $1,200 that would never ever be enough. About being 24 years old before she could finish a 2-year degree. I'll call tomorrow morning, Maya said quietly, meeting his gaze steadily. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Blackwell. I won't let you down. Don't thank me yet, Harrison said, his voice cold. You haven't worked for me yet. You have no idea what you're agreeing to. Maya smiled slightly. I survived Mr. Peterson at Murphy's Diner for 2 years, sir. I think I can handle difficult. For just a second, barely a heartbeat, something that might have been amusement flickered in Harrison's eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by that same cold, controlled neutrality. Harrison stood, pulling cash from his wallet to pay for the coffee neither of them had really drunk. One more thing, Maya. Your former employer has been telling other business owners in your neighborhood that you're a thief, that you attempted to steal from customers. I've had my attorney send him a cease and desist letter. If he continues to defame you, we'll pursue legal action for slander and intentional infliction of economic harm. You won't have trouble finding other work in the future because of his lies. Maya's eyes widened, her breath catching. You didn't have to do that, sir. Yes, I did. Harrison's voice was firm, final. You lost your job because you protected my property and refused to participate in theft. I don't leave debts unpaid, Maya. Ever. That's not how I operate. He turned to leave, then paused at the edge of the booth, looking back at her one final time. And Maya, you were right about the reward. Taking money for doing the right thing does make it less meaningful. Your mother raised you well. That's increasingly rare in this world. Then he walked out, his footsteps confident and measured, leaving Maya sitting in the booth, holding a business card that felt like it might change everything. Maya called the next morning at 9 o'clock sharp. A woman answered, not Robert, but someone else with a crisp professional voice. Blackwell, Estate, how may I direct your call? Hello, my name is Maya Richardson. I'm calling to confirm a job offer from Mr. Blackwell. One moment please. There was a brief hold, then the woman returned. Miss Richardson, Mr. Blackwell is expecting your call. I'm Dorothy Miller, his household manager.
Robert will pick you up this Saturday at 7:30 in the morning. Please be ready and waiting outside your building. Mr. Blackwell values punctuality above nearly all other qualities. Do you have any questions? No ma'am, I'll be ready, thank you. We'll see you Saturday, Miss Richardson. Welcome to Blackwell Estate. Robert picked Maya up at exactly 7:30 Saturday morning, the sleek black sedan pulling up in front of her apartment building, looking absurdly out of place among the cracked sidewalks, overflowing dumpsters and chain-link fences. Her parents had been up since dawn, both excited and nervous. Her mama had made her a big breakfast, insisting she eat before such a long day of physical work. Her daddy had walked her down to the car, wanting to meet Robert face to face, wanting to make sure his daughter would be safe. You take care of my girl, Thomas had said to Robert, his voice friendly but carrying an unmistakable undertone of protective father. I will, sir, Robert had replied with genuine respect. Mr. Blackwell would have it no other way. Your daughter will be perfectly safe. Now, as the sedan wound through increasingly beautiful neighborhoods, Maya watched the world transform outside her window. Cracked sidewalks became smooth, pristine pavement, chain-link fences became elegant stone walls, cramped, deteriorating apartment buildings became sprawling homes with actual yards, with gardens, with space to breathe. After 45 minutes, Robert turned down a long private road lined with massive oak trees that had probably been growing for a century. At the end sat the most beautiful property Maya had ever seen in her life. The main house was stunning, a sprawling single-story structure built of warm gray stone, with enormous windows and a wraparound porch. It looked expensive but somehow understated, elegant but profoundly lonely, like a beautiful shell with nothing living inside. Beyond the house lay the farm itself, 20 acres of gently rolling green hills, a large red barn that looked like it belonged in a painting, several pristine outbuildings, a stable for horses, and gardens that stretched out in neat, organized rows. A man in his 40s with sun-weathered skin and kind brown eyes approached as Robert's car pulled away. He wore worn jeans, scuffed work boots, and a flannel shirt, looking like he'd spent his entire life outdoors and was perfectly content with that fact. You must be Maya, he said with a warm, genuine smile, extending a calloused hand. I'm Daniel Wright, farm manager. Mr. Blackwell called me Thursday night and told me you'd be starting today. Welcome to the estate. Thank you, Mr. Wright. It's nice to meet you. Just Daniel, please, he said with a laugh. Mr. Wright makes me sound like my father, and trust me, nobody wants that. His smile was so genuine, so lacking in judgment or assessment, that Maya felt some of her nervous tension ease slightly. Come on, Daniel continued, gesturing toward the barn. Let me show you around and we'll get you started with the basics. The morning passed in a blur of new information. Daniel was patient and thorough, showing her everything she'd need to know with calm competence. Now, collecting eggs, Daniel explained as they approached the chicken coop. You gotta be gentle but confident. The hens can sense if you're scared or hesitant. Reach under nice and easy, but don't hesitate, like this. He demonstrated with practiced ease. Maya tried, mimicking his movements. She got pecked once, a sharp jab that made her yelp, but Daniel just laughed. That's normal, that's Bertha. She's protective and tests everyone new. But you did good, you didn't drop the egg. He showed her how to feed the horses, measuring exact portions. Horses are creatures of routine. They like consistency. Surprises stress them out. He taught her how to check water troughs, identify weeds versus vegetables, stack hay bales properly. Weight distribution is everything, Daniel explained. Stack 'em wrong and they topple in a week. Mr. Blackwell is particular about things being done correctly the first time. The work was physical but satisfying. Maya could see direct results of her labor, collected eggs, fed animals, weeded rows. Around noon, she heard a truck engine. Maya looked up from the garden to see a dark pickup pulling up near the barn. Harrison Blackwell climbed out, in daylight, dressed in faded jeans, work boots, and rolled-up sleeves. He looked different than at the diner. Harder, more weathered and remote. His silver-gray hair gleamed in sunlight. He moved with deliberate purpose, each step measured. Maya's stomach clenched with nervousness. "How's she doing?" Harrison asked Daniel without glancing at Maya. His voice was cold in the daylight. "Real good actually," Daniel replied with genuine approval. "Quick learner. Good instincts with the animals. Asks smart questions. Not afraid of hard work." Harrison nodded once, then his ice blue eyes finally landed on Maya. He walked to where she knelt in the garden, and looked down at her completed rows, expression unreadable. Maya held her breath, hoping desperately she'd done it right. "You're pulling the weeds wrong," Harrison said flatly, voice cutting. No greeting, no acknowledgement, just immediate criticism. "You're taking the tops but leaving portions of root in the ground. They'll regenerate within a week. Everything you've done here represents wasted time and effort." Maya's face flushed with embarrassment. She'd been so careful. "I'm sorry, Mr. Blackwell. Daniel showed me, but I must have." "I don't pay for excuses or apologies," Harrison interrupted, voice like a blade. "I pay for work done correctly the first time. Results matter, intentions are irrelevant." He bent down, pulled a weed with swift efficiency, showing the complete root system. "Like this, the entire root. Every part. Do it again. All these rows, from the beginning." Maya's throat tightened with tears. 3 hours of work, all wasted. "Yes sir." Harrison walked away without another word, heading toward the stable. Maya looked at Daniel, hoping for sympathy. Daniel gave an apologetic smile and shrug. "Don't take it personal. He's tough on everyone. Has been for years." But it felt personal, like she was fundamentally inadequate, stupid, unworthy of the generous wage. She started over, pulling each weed with painstaking care, making absolutely certain she got every single root. Harrison appeared twice more that afternoon. Once to point out incorrectly stacked hay bales, structurally unsound, they'll topple in a week, complete waste of effort. Once to show missed eggs in nesting boxes, half-hearted work produces half-hearted results, Miss Richardson. Each criticism delivered in that same flat, emotionless, ice-cold tone. No warmth, no encouragement, just cold assessment of her failures. By the time Robert came at 4:30, Maya was exhausted, frustrated, fighting back tears. But when she got home and handed her mama $200 in cash, first day's pay, properly documented on an official pay stub, and saw the joy and relief on her mama's face, Maya knew she'd be back tomorrow. Even if Harrison Blackwell made her want to cry every single day. The weeks blurred into an exhausting pattern. Every Saturday and Sunday, Robert picked Maya up at 7:30 sharp. Every Saturday and Sunday, she worked 8 hours under Harrison's cold, relentlessly critical eye. Nothing was ever good enough. Garden rows never straight enough. Chicken feed scattered too widely. Stable not mucked thoroughly enough. Water troughs had algae in corners. Fence posts not tamped firmly enough. Tool shed organization illogical. Harrison never yelled, his voice stayed flat and controlled, but every criticism felt like a small cut. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. Daniel was sympathetic. He wasn't always like this. Daniel told Maya one Saturday, when Harrison had spent 20 minutes criticizing her hose coiling method. 12 years ago when I started, he was tough but fair. He'd joke sometimes, smile, seemed human. Then 7 years ago something happened and he just shut down, became this. What happened? Maya asked, carefully coiling the hose exactly as Harrison had demonstrated. Daniel's face grew sad. Not my story to tell, but it was bad, real bad. The kind of tragedy that breaks a person, and they never quite fit back together right. Maya wanted to press for more, but Daniel changed the subject. The only bright spot was Dorothy Miller, Harrison's housekeeper. Warm and motherly, mid-50s, kind brown eyes, graying hair in a neat bun. She'd bring lunch, always making sure Maya got a generous plate. "Don't let him get under your skin too much, sweetheart," Dorothy said one day when Harrison had been particularly harsh. "He's hurting inside, has been for years." Sometimes when people carry that much pain, they make sure everyone around them hurts too. It's not right, but it's human.
"Why does he stay so angry?" Maya asked. Dorothy's eyes filled with deep sorrow. "Because 7 years ago he lost everything that mattered. His wife Caroline, sweetest woman. His two sons Daniel and James, the older boy was 25, younger was 22, all gone within 2 years. And Mr. Blackwell never learned how to live with that kind of loss. So he just stopped living. The farm, the house, the business, all just ways to pass time until the pain stops. Maya absorbed this quietly, heart aching for the cold man who criticized everything. No wonder he couldn't connect. If you never let anyone close, they could never leave you. As weeks passed, Maya started noticing things. The way Harrison would stand at the fence staring at nothing, face carved with bottomless sadness. The way his hands trembled when he thought no one watched. The way he'd almost smile at something, then force his face back to that hard mask. The way he'd touch things gently when alone, running his hand along a fence post, adjusting a tool, straightening a faded photograph in the barn. Harrison wasn't cruel because he was bad. He was cruel because he was drowning in unprocessed grief, and drowning people lash out at anyone who gets too close. So Maya tried harder, not because Harrison asked, he never did, but because she understood his harsh criticism wasn't about her. It was about control, about having something he could make perfect when everything else had fallen apart. She researched proper farming techniques at the library during lunch breaks, studied online, watched videos during bus rides, read articles until her eyes burned. Slowly her work improved. She pulled weeds perfectly, stacked hay according to structural principles, mucked stables until they gleamed, organized tools by size, type, frequency, creating an efficient, intuitive system. Harrison still found things to criticize, always but slowly, almost imperceptibly. The criticisms became more specific, more technical, less about incompetence, more about improvement toward excellence. Not praise, but not quite as soul-crushing either. Then one day, about 8 weeks in, at the end of a long Saturday, Harrison walked through the newly reorganized tool shed. He stood studying the careful arrangement, the labeled sections, the logical system. Better, he said, just that one word, then walked away. Maya smiled the entire drive home, clutching that single word like treasure. Around that time, during a water break, Daniel mentioned something new. You know, Mr. Blackwell used to be quite the businessman, Daniel said, leaning against the fence. Built Blackwell Dynamics from nothing. Real estate, investments, technology, the company's got fingers in everything. Made him billionaire wealthy. He still runs it, Maya asked. Not really, not for 7 years. Has people now? Daniel paused. Marcus Brennan is CFO, runs day-to-day operations. Been with Mr. Blackwell 20+ years. Absolutely loyal. Probably the only person Mr. Blackwell still trusts completely. He trusts someone. The question slipped out. Maya couldn't imagine Harrison trusting anyone. Marcus was there through everything, Daniel said quietly. When Mrs. Blackwell and the boys died, when Mr. Blackwell fell apart, Marcus kept the company running. In a lot of ways, Marcus saved Mr. Blackwell's business. He's the closest thing to a friend Mr. Blackwell has left. Maya absorbed this information quietly. So Harrison did trust someone. That was something positive. She didn't think much more about it. Marcus Brennan was just a name, part of Harrison's distant business life. She had no way of knowing how devastatingly important that name would become. It happened on a Sunday in late November. Dorothy was visiting her sister, who'd had emergency surgery. Daniel had taken the weekend off for his daughter's wedding. Maya had volunteered to work both days, and Harrison agreed with a curt nod. Just the two of them on the farm. Maya arrived at 8 to find Harrison already working in the stable, brushing down a horse. He grunted minimal acknowledgement, and continued. Normal. Harrison wasn't much for words in early morning. The November air was cold but clear, sky perfect deep blue. The farm peaceful with just animal sounds and distant bird calls. Maya went through her routine, eggs, chickens, water troughs, garden work. Hours passed in productive silence. Harrison worked in barn and stable, handling heavier tasks. Around 11:30, Maya was in the vegetable garden, preparing beds for winter, when she heard a sound that made her blood freeze. A crash, loud and terrible, metal scraping, something heavy falling, then awful silence. Mr. Blackwell. Maya dropped her tools and ran. Mr. Blackwell. She found him lying motionless near the stable entrance. A tall ladder on its side. He must have fallen from the hayloft, 12 or 15 feet, but the fall wasn't what terrified her most. His face was ashen gray, death-colored. His breathing came in short, terrible, gasping wheezes that sounded fundamentally wrong. His hand pressed hard against his chest, fingers digging desperately. His eyes open but unfocused. Maya had taken CPR and first aid in high school. She recognized the signs immediately. Heart attack. Mr. Blackwell. She dropped to her knees, hands hovering. Can you hear me? I'm getting help. She grabbed her phone. No signal. The farm sat in a dead zone. The barn office. The landline. Maya ran faster than ever, burst through the office door, grabbed the phone. 911, what's your emergency? Heart attack. My employer fell, and I think he's having a heart attack. He can't breathe right. His face is gray. Please send help. The operator was calm, professional. I'm dispatching an ambulance now. What's your address? Maya rattled off the farm address. The ambulance is on its way, but that's a remote location. It'll take approximately 30 to 35 minutes to reach you. 30 minutes. Maya's voice cracked. He doesn't have 30 minutes. I know it's scary. Is he conscious? Barely. His breathing sounds terrible. Keep him comfortable. Don't move him unless immediate danger. Can you do that? Yes, but Maya's mind raced. 30 minutes. People died from heart attacks in less time. Wait, there's an urgent care clinic off Highway 12, maybe 4 or 5 miles away. If you have a vehicle and can drive safely, you could try. But moving someone having a heart attack is risky. I don't have a license. I've never driven. Then I recommend waiting for the ambulance. Maya hung up. 4 or 5 miles to the clinic. 4 or 5 miles between Harrison and survival. She couldn't carry him. He was over 200 pounds. She barely 115. Impossible physics. But there had to be another way. Maya ran back outside. Harrison's breathing had worsened, lips tinged blue. Then she saw it, near the barn entrance. A wheelbarrow, large, sturdy, for hauling feed, with big pneumatic tires for rough terrain. Crazy, completely insane. But the only option. Mr. Blackwell, Maya said, kneeling and taking his cold hand. I'm going to get you help, but you need to try to help me. Can you understand? Can you try to move with me? His eyes focused slightly. He tried to speak but only wheezed. Maya positioned the wheelbarrow next to him. With his minimal help and every ounce of strength she possessed, strength born of pure desperation, she got him first sitting, then agonizingly into the wheelbarrow. He was so heavy, impossibly heavy. But adrenaline gave her superhuman strength. Maya grabbed the handles and pushed. The wheelbarrow was designed for heavy loads, had large tires, but pushing a 220-pound man was still brutal. Her arms screamed, her back protested, sweat poured despite the cold, but she pushed. One step, another, keep moving. Down the farm road toward the main road. The road seemed miles away. Time became strange. Seconds felt like hours. She made it to the main road somehow, and started along it, moving as fast as possible. Her muscles burned like fire. Black spots danced at her vision edges. Please, Maya whispered to God, the universe, anyone, please, please don't let him die. She didn't know how long she'd been walking when she heard a car slow behind her. Dear Lord, what happened? An elderly couple, the woman's face pale with shock, the man already pulling over. Heart attack. Maya gasped. Urgent care. Highway 12, exit 9. Get him in the car. Frank, help. Together they got Harrison into the back seat. Maya climbed in, cradling his head. His breathing so shallow now. Hold on. Maya whispered, tears streaming. Please hold on. We're almost there. Frank drove like possessed. 8 minutes later they screeched into the urgent care parking lot. Medical staff rushed out with a gurney, moving with practiced efficiency. Machines, IVs, oxygen. Medical terms Maya didn't understand. Myocardial infarction, ST elevation, thrombolytics. Then they wheeled him inside, and Maya stood in the parking lot, entire body shaking violently. She couldn't feel her legs, couldn't feel her arms, muscles gone past pain into strange numbness. A nurse appeared, gently guiding her inside, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders, brought water, made her sit. You saved his life, the nurse said gently. Getting him here that fast, that made the difference between life and death. You understand. You saved him. Maya couldn't respond, could only shake and cry and wait. 2 hours later, a doctor emerged. Maya stood so fast the world spun. He's stable, the doctor said.
and Maya's knees nearly gave out with relief. Significant cardiac event, very serious heart attack. His LAD artery was 95% blocked, but you got him here in time. We've administered treatment and stabilized him. We're transferring him to University Hospital for comprehensive care and likely surgical intervention. But he's out of immediate danger. He's going to survive. Can I see him? Maya's voice came out broken. Please, just for a minute. The doctor hesitated, then nodded, very briefly. He's extremely weak. Harrison was surrounded by beeping machines, tubes and wires everywhere, oxygen in his nose, his face still too pale, but his eyes were open and clear. When he saw Maya, something in his expression cracked wide open. The ice melted, the walls crumbled, raw emotion flooded his face. You saved me, he whispered hoarsely. Maya nodded, unable to speak. How? Wheelbarrow, from the barn, pushed you to the road, a couple gave us a ride. Harrison's eyes filled with tears. Why would you do that? Maya took his trembling hand gently. Because you needed help, because nobody deserves to die alone. Because, she paused, speaking from her heart, because you matter, Mr. Blackwell. Whether you believe it or not, your life has value, and I wasn't going to let you die. A tear rolled down Harrison's weathered cheek, then another. They came faster, silent and constant, like a dam breaking after 7 years. I'm just a 22-year-old girl who lost her diner job. Maya continued softly. I don't have money or power or anything important, but I know every life has value. You gave me a job when I needed one. You've been teaching me, even when harsh, and I wasn't going to abandon you, not for anything. Harrison's tears came faster, face twisted with emotion, grief, gratitude, relief, pain mixed together. Thank you, he finally whispered, voice breaking completely. Thank you, Maya. It was the first time he'd ever called her by her first name. And hearing her name in his broken voice, Maya knew something fundamental had changed. The walls had finally developed cracks wide enough to let light through. Harrison spent a week in the hospital. Surgeons performed emergency angioplasty, placing 2 stents. Procedure successful, but recovery would be long. Maya visited every day after grocery shifts, taking 2 buses each way, over an hour traveling, just to sit with him 30 or 40 minutes. Doctors said he'd been extraordinarily lucky. Another 10 or 15 minutes, and the outcome would have been drastically different. He needed medication, lifestyle changes, monitoring and rest, no stress. Harrison was terrible patient, complaining about food, arguing with doctors, trying to check emails until Dorothy confiscated his devices. But with Maya, he was different, softer, more open. Tuesday evening, she found him staring out the window at city lights. He turned when she entered, face softening in a way she'd never seen. Maya, he gestured to the chair. Sit, please, not an order, an actual request. She sat, setting down flowers she'd picked from the farm that morning. Dorothy told me you've been working double shifts at the grocery store, Harrison said with genuine concern. To make up for missing weekends. It's fine, Mr. Blackwell, I need the money. No, his voice was firm but not cold. You'll be paid for every weekend you've missed, full wages. You saved my life, Maya, but I didn't actually work. You pushed me half a mile in a wheelbarrow. Harrison interrupted, almost gently. You refused to let me die. I think that counts as work. His expression grew serious. I need to tell you something. You deserve to know why I am the way I am. Maya waited, heart beating faster. Harrison's face grew heavy with old grief. 7 years ago I had a wife, Caroline. His voice caught. She was the best person I've ever known. Made me laugh when too serious. Made me slow down when I worked too hard. Made me want to be better. We had 2 sons. Daniel was 25. James was 22. Good boys. Smart, kind, full of dreams. Maya's chest tightened. There was an accident on Highway 44. Semi-truck driver fell asleep at the wheel during a rainstorm. Caroline was driving James home from the airport. Truck hit them head-on doing 70. Harrison's hands clenched the blanket. They died on impact. Oh, Harrison, Maya whispered, tears streaming. Daniel couldn't handle losing them. Harrison continued, voice breaking. Losing his mother and brother destroyed him. He fell into depression, started using drugs. I tried everything, therapy, rehab, specialists, but he was drowning, and I couldn't save him. His voice cracked completely. 2 years after the accident, Daniel took a bottle of sleeping pills, left a note saying he wanted to be with Mom and James. He was 27. Maya sobbed openly. Harrison kept talking, like a dam had burst. I lost my entire family within 2 years. Everything I'd worked for, built, it was all for them. And suddenly they were gone, like they'd never existed except in my memory. He looked at Maya with eyes swimming in tears. I didn't just lose them. I lost myself, lost faith in everything. The business kept running because Marcus managed it, but I wasn't really there, just a ghost. I kept the farm because Caroline loved it, but I was just waiting to die so the pain would stop. I became bitter, cold, pushed everyone away because I couldn't survive being hurt again. Built walls so high nothing could touch me. Harrison took Maya's hand. Then you found my wallet. 22 years old, family struggling, and you had $12,000, enough to change your life, but you returned it, got fired for it, refused reward. His voice shook. When I was dying you didn't just call for help, you pushed me in a wheelbarrow. You refused to let me die alone. Tears rolled down his face. You reminded me of my son's caring, selfless, willing to sacrifice. You reminded me of Caroline's belief that people are fundamentally good. You showed me the world isn't as dark as I'd convinced myself. Maya squeezed his hands, crying. Your family wouldn't want you shut away like this. They loved you. They'd want you to heal, to keep living. I know that now, Harrison said. You've shown me that. You're 22 and have more courage, more integrity than most people 3 times your age. They taught me that doing the right thing matters. They were right. Harrison took a shaky breath. Maya, I've been cruel to you, harsh and impossible to please, not because you deserved it, but because I was testing you, pushing you away before I could care, before you could leave, and hurt me. But you never left, he continued, with wonder. You kept coming back, kept trying, kept being kind. And somewhere along the way, I started to care, started to feel something besides emptiness. He met her eyes. You saved more than my life. You saved my soul. You reminded me what it means to be human. And I want to do better. I want to be the person Caroline and my boys would want me to be. Will you help me? Be patient with a stubborn old man trying to remember how to live. Maya smiled through tears, hugging him gently. Of course, that's what friends do. Friends, Harrison repeated softly, testing the word after years of not using it. Then he smiled, a real genuine smile that transformed his entire face. Yes, friends. For the first time in 7 years, Harrison Blackwell looked like he might actually want to keep living. Harrison came home from the hospital 2 weeks later, with medications, restrictions, and instructions. But the biggest change was in him. The walls had windows now, light could get through. Maya continued weekend work, but everything was different. Harrison actually talked to her, asked about her life, her family, her dreams. He told stories about Caroline and his sons, painful stories he needed to share. He showed her photo albums stored away for years, pointing out pictures with trembling hands, but growing strength in his voice. This was James at his college graduation, Harrison said, finger resting gently on a photo. Environmental science major, wanted to work for the National Park Service, preserve wilderness for future generations. And this is Daniel at the community center, where he volunteered every week. Harrison continued, turning the page, taught financial literacy to teenagers from low-income families, said if he could help even one kid avoid financial mistakes, his life would have purpose. Maya listened to every story, helping Harrison remember his family's legacy wasn't tragedy, it was love. In mid-January, about 3 months after the heart attack, Harrison asked Maya to bring her parents to the farm for dinner. Thomas and Sandra arrived nervous in their Sunday best, holding grocery store flowers, because Sandra said you never showed up empty-handed. Harrison greeted them warmly, not the cold man from months ago, but someone present, almost nervous himself. Mr. and Mrs. Richardson, he said, extending his hand with a genuine smile. Thank you for coming. I've been wanting to meet the people who raised such an exceptional daughter. Over dinner, which Harrison and Maya had cooked together, they talked. Harrison told them about the wallet, Maya's integrity, how she'd saved his life. Your daughter didn't just save my physical life, Harrison said emotionally. She reminded me why life is worth living. She showed me that goodness and integrity still exist, that kindness isn't weakness, that caring about people is what makes us human. Sandra cried softly. Thomas fought tears. Maya told us you lost your family, Sandra said gently, touching Harrison's hand. We're so sorry. No parent should bury their children. Harrison nodded, eyes glistening. They were everything. When they died, I thought love only led to pain. I shut everyone out, but your daughter wouldn't let me stay that way. She kept showing up, kept being kind. That's how we raised her, Thomas said proudly. We don't have money or opportunities, but we taught her values. You gave her something more valuable than money, Harrison said firmly. Character, integrity, compassion, those are what actually matter. He paused carefully, which is why I want to do something, not as charity, but as an investment in a family that represents everything I'd lost faith in. He pulled 3 envelopes from beside his plate. Mr. Richardson, Harrison said, handing the first to Thomas. A formal job offer through the Blackwell Foundation, facilities manager for this estate, $60,000 per year, with full medical benefits, retirement plan, paid vacation. The position includes housing, a 3-bedroom guest cottage on the property, fully furnished. Thomas stared, hands shaking as he read the formal offer letter. Harrison handed the second to Sandra. Mrs. Richardson, contact information for the best hand specialist in the state. I've arranged and paid for complete treatment through the Blackwell Foundation, surgery if necessary, physical therapy, everything. No more factory work. When recovered, if you'd like, I'd be honored if you'd help Dorothy manage the household. Same salary and benefits. Sandra gasped, hands flying to her mouth, tears streaming. Harrison handed the third to Maya. Not just a scholarship for university, Maya, funding to complete your bachelor's degree in social work, then continue to your master's if you choose. 4 years total, everything covered, tuition, fees, books, living expenses. You shouldn't have been 1 semester from your associates and had to quit. You should finish what you started, and go as far as your abilities take you. Stunned silence. Then Sandra sobbed, deep overwhelming sobs of relief and gratitude. Thomas had tears streaming. Maya couldn't breathe. Why? Thomas finally asked, voice breaking. Why would you do this? We have nothing to offer. Harrison's voice was thick with emotion. Because 7 years ago, I lost my family and gave up on life. I spent 5 years cold and bitter, convinced caring only led to pain. Then your daughter returned my wallet when she could have kept it, refused reward, saved my life when she could have just called for help. He looked at each of them. She reminded me that Caroline and Daniel and James would be ashamed of who I'd become. They wouldn't want me shut down forever. They'd want me to honor their memories by living fully, loving again, helping others. His voice broke. You're not charity. You represent everything I'd lost faith in: integrity, love, hard work, family. And if you'll let me, I'd like to be part of your lives, not just as employer, but as family. He paused, wiping his eyes. I know I can't replace what I lost. Caroline, Daniel, and James are gone, but maybe I can build something new, something good, something that would make them proud. And I'd like to do that with your family, if you'll have me. They all cried together. 4 people from different worlds, brought together by a lost wallet, and a choice to do the right thing, connected now by something deeper than circumstance, connected by choice, by love, by determination to keep believing in goodness. The Richardson family moved into the guest cottage in March. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, full kitchen, living room with fireplace, more space than their entire apartment, in infinitely better condition. Thomas started his position with pride, bringing care to the estate's grounds. Sandra began treatments, and slowly, miraculously, the pain in her hands eased. She started helping Dorothy, the 2 becoming close friends. Maya re-enrolled at the state university for fall semester, planning to major in social work. She continued weekend farm work, but now it felt like family time. For the first time in 7 years, Harrison seemed truly alive. He laughed, not often, but when he did, it was rich and warm. He started attending the community center, where Daniel had volunteered, teaching financial literacy to teenagers just like his son had. He took walks with Maya or Thomas, actually enjoying beauty instead of just going through motions. The Richardson family became his family, in every way that mattered. But in late April, something happened that threatened to destroy everything. The news broke on a Thursday evening. Maya was studying when her father ran in, face pale, holding his phone. "Turn on the news. Channel 7, now." Maya grabbed the remote. The headline made her stomach drop. Blackwell Dynamics CFO arrested for massive embezzlement. The anchor's voice was grave. Marcus Brennan, Chief Financial Officer of Blackwell Dynamics for over 20 years, was arrested today on federal charges of embezzling over $58 million over a 3-year period. Authorities say Brennan used an elaborate network of shell companies and offshore accounts to hide the theft. Maya's hands went numb. Marcus Brennan, the man Daniel had mentioned with respect, the man Harrison said was the only person he trusted completely, the man who'd been Harrison's friend for 20 years, who'd stood beside him at his son's funerals. "We have to go to him," Maya said, already moving. "Right now." They found him in the main house, in his study, sitting in complete darkness. He didn't turn on lights when they entered, didn't acknowledge their presence, just sat staring at nothing. "Harrison," Maya said softly, "go away." His voice was flat dead. "We're not going in," Thomas said firmly, turning on a lamp. The light revealed Harrison's face, and all the warmth that had slowly returned was gone. The walls were back, higher and thicker than ever. "He was my friend," Harrison said, staring at nothing. "For 20 years, he stood beside me at Caroline's funeral, at Daniel's funeral, at James's funeral, and he was stealing from me the entire time. While I grieved, he was getting rich off my pain." "Harrison," Maya started, "everyone I've ever trusted has either died or betrayed me," Harrison continued, voice cold as steel. "My wife and son's dead, my oldest friend, a thief. So tell me, why should I trust anyone? All it does is lead to more pain." Maya felt tears streaming. "Because we're still here. We haven't betrayed you. We care about you." "Not yet," Harrison said bitterly, "but you will. Everyone does. It's just a matter of time." He stood abruptly. "I want you all out of the cottage by month's end. Job offers rescinded. Scholarship cancelled. Go back to your lives. This was a mistake." "You don't mean that," Sandra said, shaking. "I mean every word," Harrison said, eyes completely cold. "This was all a mistake. I should have stayed alone. It's safer that way." He walked out, leaving them in shock and heartbreak.
Over the next 2 weeks, Harrison shut down completely, wouldn't see them, wouldn't talk, told Dorothy and Daniel he didn't need anyone, stopped going to the community center, stopped caring for the farm, just existed in that big empty house alone. Media coverage was relentless. New details daily: gambling debts that started the theft, secret second family, years of deception, company stock plummeted, lawsuits filed, and through it all, Harrison sat alone in his study, curtains drawn, refusing to let anyone in. The Richardsons packed with breaking hearts, preparing to return to Riverside. Maya's scholarship withdrawn, but she couldn't focus on anything except the man who'd become like a grandfather, now drowning in darkness again. But Maya wasn't giving up. On a Friday night 2 weeks after Marcus's arrest, Maya used the emergency key Dorothy had given her and let herself into the main house. After midnight, dark and silent, like a tomb, Maya made her way to the study. Harrison sat in darkness, untouched whiskey beside him. "I told you to leave," he said without turning. "And I'm not listening," Maya said firmly, turning on a lamp, "because you're not thinking straight and someone needs to tell you the truth." Harrison finally looked at her, face haggard, eyes lifeless. "The truth: everyone betrays you eventually. Caring only leads to pain." "I should have stayed alone." "No," Maya said, moving closer. "The truth is Marcus Brennan is one person, one terrible person, but he doesn't get to define your future. He doesn't get to destroy everything good you've built." "Everything good?" Harrison laughed bitterly. "I've built nothing. I had a family and they died. I had a friend and he betrayed me. I tried to let you in and look where that got me." "We haven't betrayed you." Maya's voice rose. "We're still here. My parents are packing because you told them to, but they don't want to go. Dorothy is heartbroken. Daniel is devastated. And me, I'm watching you disappear back into that darkness, and it's breaking my heart because I know that's not who you are anymore." "You don't know anything," Harrison said coldly. I know you're terrified, Maya shot back. I know Marcus's betrayal hurt so badly, you want to shut everyone out forever. I know it's easier to push us away than risk caring and losing again. She knelt beside his chair, forcing him to look at her. But Harrison, listen, closing yourself off doesn't protect you from pain. It just prevents you from feeling joy. It means Marcus wins completely. He doesn't just steal your money, he steals your future, your happiness, your family. I don't have a family, Harrison said, but his voice wavered. Yes you do. Tears streamed down Maya's face. You have us. You have my parents who love you. You have Dorothy who's been loyal 12 years. You have me, and I'm not going anywhere unless you physically throw me out. She took his cold hands. You told me once that my parents taught me doing the right thing matters when it's hard. Well, you taught me something too. You taught me that grief is just love with nowhere to go. That pain is the price for having loved. That walls don't keep us safe, they just keep us alone. What if I can't survive being hurt again? Harrison whispered, voice breaking. What if next time destroys me? What if I lose you too? Then we'll be there to catch you. Maya said simply, that's what family does. We catch each other when we fall. We hold each other up. We choose to keep loving even when it's scary. Marcus was my friend for 20 years, Harrison said, tears finally breaking through. 20 years, Maya. How do I trust anyone after that? Because trust isn't about the other person being perfect. Maya said gently, it's about believing most people are good, and when you find the good ones, you hold on to them. My parents are good people. Dorothy is good. I'm trying to be good. We're not Marcus. We're not going to betray you. She touched his face, making him look at her. Caroline wouldn't want you to give up. Daniel and James wouldn't want you to shut down. They loved you. They'd want you to keep living, keep loving, keep believing. Honor their memory by being brave enough to keep your heart open. Harrison's face crumpled. The walls finally completely collapsed. He pulled Maya into a fierce hug and sobbed like a broken child. Deep, wrenching sobs that shook his whole body. 7 years of grief, months of healing, weeks of fresh betrayal, all of it poured out. Maya held him, crying too, feeling him shake with the force of his emotion. They stayed like that until the tears slowed, until the shaking stopped, until something like peace settled over them. I'm so tired, Harrison whispered, voice raw, so tired of fighting, so tired of hurting, so tired of being afraid. Then stop fighting alone, Maya said gently. Let us help you, let us be your family, let us prove not everyone leaves. Harrison pulled back, wiping his face. His eyes were red and swollen but clearer than they'd been in weeks. I've been cruel. I told you to leave when you were the only thing keeping me human. We know you didn't mean it, Maya said. We know you were hurting. We understand. We forgive you. I don't deserve any of you, Harrison said. Maybe not, Maya said with a small smile. But you're stuck with us anyway. Because we love you, Harrison. Not your money. We love you, the real you, with all your grief and pain and difficult ways, and we're not leaving. You're family, and family doesn't abandon family. For the first time in weeks, Harrison laughed. Weak and watery but real. You're very stubborn. I learned from the best, Maya said, grinning. A certain stubborn old man taught me to never give up. Harrison took a shaky breath. Marcus betrayed me. That's his choice, his sin. But you're right, he doesn't get to define my future. He doesn't get to take away the family I've found. He doesn't get to win. He stood, pulling Maya to her feet. Come on, we need to apologize to your parents. And call Dorothy and Daniel. Tell them I was an idiot and beg them to come back. They'll come back, Maya said confidently. Because that's what family does. They walked through the dark house, turning on lights as they went, out to the cottage where Thomas and Sandra were still awake, packing. When they saw Harrison, they froze. I'm sorry, Harrison said, voice rough but sincere. I was scared and hurt, and I lashed out at people who least deserved it. I don't have the right to ask, but, will you stay? Will you give me another chance? Sandra crossed the room and hugged him without hesitation, the way a mother hugs a hurting child. Of course we'll stay. Your family, Harrison. Family doesn't abandon each other. Thomas joined the hug, then Maya, until all four stood surrounded by half-packed boxes, holding each other like lifelines. Marcus tried to destroy what we have, Harrison said, arms around them all, but he failed. Because what we have is real. It's not built on money or convenience. It's built on something stronger, choice and love and determination to keep choosing each other, even when it's hard. The investigation into Marcus Brennan's embezzlement continued through spring and summer. Most of the stolen money was eventually recovered, approximately $45 million of the $58 million, through seized assets and frozen accounts. The remaining $13 million was never located. In July, Marcus pleaded guilty to multiple federal counts. He received a sentence of 18 years in federal prison with no parole for at least 12 years. Harrison attended the sentencing, Maya beside him, holding his hand. When it was over, when Marcus had been led away in handcuffs without ever looking at Harrison or offering apology, Harrison turned to Maya with something like peace in his eyes. "Thank you for being here," he said quietly, "for not letting me face this alone. You'll never have to face anything alone again," Maya promised. "That's what family is for." Harrison smiled, real and genuine, reaching his eyes. "Yes, that's exactly what family is for." The summer passed with healing and rebuilding. Harrison worked to restore his company's reputation and implement new safeguards. But more importantly, he worked on himself, staying open, letting people in, choosing trust even when terrifying. Maya started at the university that fall, diving into social work studies with renewed passion. She continued weekend farm work, but it had transformed from grueling labor into joyful family time. In August, Harrison did something he hadn't done in 7 years. He visited Caroline's and his son's graves, but this time, he didn't go alone. The Richardson family went with him. "I've been so angry," Harrison told the 3 headstones, voice shaking but strong. "Angry at you for leaving, angry at the world for taking you, angry at myself for not saving you. But I'm trying to do better now, really trying. I'm living the way you'd want, openly, generously, with love." He placed fresh flowers on each grave. "I met a family, a wonderful family. They remind me of us, of the love we had. I'm helping them the way I wish someone had helped me, and they're helping me remember how to be human again." Maya stood beside him, hand in his. "They'd be so proud of you," she said softly, "for trying again, for opening your heart, for choosing to live fully." Harrison nodded, tears streaming, but for the first time in 7 years they were tears of healing rather than just grief. Tears of gratitude, mixed with sorrow. Tears of hope.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.